Welcome to another edition of Carnivore Bites. I'm your host, Jeff Sherman, along with Dr. Eric Lopkin. And a momentous day. I remember my first real job out of college. I was in sales, and I started listening to Rush Limbaugh in the 80s. And I have to say, it would be hard to replace him.
It will. For those listeners who are not aware, Rush Limbaugh has just passed away at the age of 70 from advanced lung cancer. And he, whether you agreed with him or not, he is responsible for creating an entire industry. Every podcaster, every radio show, every YouTube star that focuses on conservative politics, that challenges the liberal media, they all owe a debt of gratitude to Rush Limbaugh for starting it all.
I think he was on for over 35 years too.
Yes.
Hated by the left, loved by the right overall. He got better as it went on in terms of, I think he polished himself up. Sometimes he was a little rough around the edges at the beginning, but like you said, he created an entire industry. AM radio was dead, DEAD, before him.
Yeah, he rejuvenated AM radio stations across the country by providing a syndicated talk show that, AM radio at the time was losing listeners to FM because FM had better sound quality for music. So AM started turning to talk, and there weren't that many talk radio shows out there. And there weren't really any talk radio stars. I mean, you had Howard Stern, you had a couple others, but that was it.
They were more regional too.
Yes, and Rush Limbaugh brought news and information talk to a national audience and challenged, we've talked a lot about the echo chamber that was created after the fairness doctrine went away. Rush Limbaugh was the first to step into that role to balance out what was essentially becoming a very liberal media, and has continued in that trend to this day.
And also, it's the cancel culture. They tried several times to get rid of him, and it never. He was kind of Teflon.
Yes, cancel culture started against Rush Limbaugh. People tried to get him taken off the air because they didn't agree with his viewpoints, and he fought for his viewpoints. He fought for the right to express his viewpoints. And up until just recently, when he had his last broadcast before passing away, he successfully held cancel culture at bay.
Yes, he did. Now, speaking of cancel culture, I guess to some degree, we have the Biden administration. I would have to say, not off to one of the greatest starts ever, correct?
No, they're really not. He's been in office for less than a month, and he's already been shown to be an incredible hypocrite. He came on strong with his battle for science, and science was going to be so important that he was going to make a scientific advisor a cabinet level position. And over the last couple of days, events in both Germany and Texas have shown that his environmental policy has no basis in science.
And how was that?
He came in pushing to get rid of oil and gas. He was going to push wind turbines and solar power. And now, I don't know if our listeners know this, but Germany has been very big on wind and solar power, primarily because they have no oil reserves of their own, and they have to buy oil either from us or from Russia. Texas also, while it's known for oil, has huge wind farms that supply power to a large population. Over the past few days, both Germany and Texas have been hit with unseasonably cold weather, and the wind turbines froze because wind turbines can't handle ice. And in Germany, the solar panels failed because they're now covered in snow. So you have basically an administration who's saying, scientifically, we have to get behind these. And we've just shown that if you are in a cold climate, if you have an actual winter, you cannot get rid of oil and gas altogether, because now both Germany and Texas have large segments of their population that have absolutely no power because the renewable solar and wind has failed.
Well, I see him as the vacuum president. People have filled in for him. I don't know he's really aware of, any of these events or the scientific, direction of he's basically, his administration's been filled in by other people. He's the mouthpiece. He did have a town hall the other day. Didn't look like he had his A game. I don't know. I mean, we've talked about this in the past. I think this will be a one and done. That's without a doubt. But I think it's going to be one and done in terms of 1 year and done. Not him leaving. That could happen also. But I think the tide's going to turn real quick. Your final thoughts on that?
I think it's already starting to turn, because I've seen numerous people posting on social media asking, well, you voted for Biden. How is he doing so far? And the left has been silent. They can't defend him. They're still relying on Trump. They're basically coming out, the impeachment they were focused on that. Saturday Night Live provided a perfect example. Their ratings have just dropped until this past week, when they started going after Trump again. And all of a sudden, people were excited about it. So the left has nothing, and it's showing up.
And exactly this. And, the Trump phenomenon, that only has so much legs. I mean, yeah, it's a good, it's a good shiny object for now. But let's be honest, Dr. Lopkin, as the Biden administration progresses, I think, as we said weeks ago, the mainstream media, CNN, MSNBC, is going to have no choice but to cover what is going to be increasingly a train wreck. Final thoughts? Yeah,
it really isn't. CNN showed its true colors in covering the impeachment, because the Republican Trump's defense team aired a video of Democrats calling for violence against the Trump administration and against Trump supporters. CNN aired this live, and when they went back to their anchors, they were trying to make all sorts of excuses. Say, but nobody followed up on it. It was nothing, And they were caught flat-footed, because they did not know that this video was going to be shown in the impeachment. They had no defense for it. And they're seeing more and more that they cannot defend what the left is doing.
That's the point that I'd like to leave on. I think it's going to become a bigger and bigger issue. They'll have a harder and more difficult time now that Trump's out of the picture. Their go-to situation to diffuse everything is no longer going to be around. And like Nixon said, you'll no longer have me to beat up on. So there we go. We will be live on Friday with an interesting show centered on technology. And people can join us live, correct, Dr. Lopkin?
You can join us live Fridays at 4 at blogtalkradio.com/Carnivore Radio, where you can call in and be part of the conversation. We'll see you there.
Take care.
You've been listening to Carnivore Bites, part of the Exvadio Podcast Network. You can catch us every week on carnivoreradio.com, exvadio.com/podcasts, the Apple Podcast Store, Google Play, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and wherever you find podcasts.